Hello and welcome to Let Me Be Your Game Guide, a podcast that spends each episode delving into a mystical new video game, exploring its charms and challenges, and helping you decide if it should be next on your list. I'm your host Emma, and with me are my co-hosts Rylan and Sean. Join us for this week's spoiler-free rating episode as we escape reality and enter the metaphysical. For the remainder of this episode, let me be your game guide.
Crushed it.
I'm getting really good
Yeah.
at flawlessly saying that.
Yeah. It's really good.
It's my drive to not edit things.
Nice.
I like that.
I must not stumble. I really need to stop reading things out loud on the podcast because every time I go to edit myself reading like the diary pages last episode, fuck that. It was so bad. I don't know how to read.
That's not true.
Words are hard.
Rough.
Yeah.
I think though, like you got the right rhythm. Like you were like, you know what? I'm just going to summarize this, and I feel like that's appropriate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, there's some things that I have in here. We're not going to read them. We're going to summarize this episode.
All right.
That
Well,
sounds
actually,
good.
no. That'll be next episode. My bad. Whatever.
Oh, sure. Any episode will summarize.
Summarize anything. Just
Yes.
give me it.
That's right.
But welcome back to the podcast. Before we get into things, I have some housekeeping before we get into the actual episode. We have been prepping for something very special in December, and we're going to start talking about it so you guys can get excited because we're excited. Rylan, do you want to...
I'm so excited.
This was Rylan's idea, so...
It's because I love Christmas, you guys, and I've needed an outlet for my love of Christmas. So we are going to be playing some demos and sharing 12 of them with you. 12 days of demos. We'll start the 13th or the 14th of December.
Yeah.
Look at your podcast app for it.
Yeah. It's going to be great.
It'll be there.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm really excited for demos.
Me?
I think that was a great idea, and it's just, it's going to be such a great time. So definitely give the podcast a follow so you can be here when they come out in December.
Are they going to be on all the podcasts places, or are they on our Patreon? Where are they?
We're going to be putting them on the main feed.
Oh, man.
Available for everyone, because Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Present to you guys. I'm pumped.
Yeah, if we continue doing demos, I think maybe eventually we'll put those on our Patreon, but this is the time of giving.
Yeah.
Well, it will be. Any time is the time of giving, but...
That's true. Yeah.
You can subscribe to our Patreon. We have it a level where you can give.
Yeah.
If you feel like giving.
Yeah.
Speaking of.
We
Yeah,
have
great point.
Achievement Unlocked tier. It's $1 a month.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even notice that it was gone.
But it supports us, and we like that. So,
And we do put there's some bonus content on there right now.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. But anyways, I just wanted to talk about that. I know it's kind of early, but it's going to sneak up real fast, and we're prepping for it now. So we're thinking about it, and it's going to be fun.
Do your Christmas shopping early this year, everybody.
yeah, get it done.
Think about who needs a present. Find them a present right now.
Yeah.
After this episode.
And the other housekeeping that I wanted to mention real quick. So we did have someone send us a game request, and I asked, and they said that I could name drop them on the podcast. So River, thank you so much. They requested that we play Little Misfortune. I don't know if you guys have played that before.
I have not. I've heard of it.
Okay.
I have a visual in my head.
So River, I wanted you to know that it's on our list and we will get to it. And we do have we're usually a couple games out, so it'll be a second before we could sneak it in. Maybe we'll even sneak it in as a bonus episode. Who knows?
Ooh.
But thank you so much for DMing us on, I think it was on Instagram. Yes, on Instagram. And
I love the engagement.
yeah, we appreciate it.
It's so exciting.
We're really excited. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi, River.
Hi.
Hello. So anyways, that was just my housekeeping, but now let's get into this game. And this game was Ryland's pick. Ryland, what are we playing?
We're playing a ranger, a role puzzling adventure. And this is a ranger like ARRA, etc., not a space ranger. So it's not Walker, Texas Ranger. It's arranging things.
A Ranger was developed and published by Furniture and Mattress LLC.
I love that name.
Their jingle, their frickin' jingle has been stuck in my head since I started playing this game.
Wait, is that like comes in when you start the game or what?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You must not have had your volume on because you turn on the game and it was like Furniture and Mattress. Now I'm nervous that I don't even have the jingle right.
Can we play it on the podcast?
Oh, here we go. I think I got it.
Okay, play it. How close was I? Yeah.
That's wild. I didn't hear the words in that. See, the
Yeah.
speakers on my computer are so bad. Yikes.
Well, this is kind of a spoiler, but I'm just going to say there is an achievement where you find that in the game.
A furniture and mattress? Mm-hmm. Oh.
Oh.
And it does the jingle for you.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's a great Easter egg.
Huh.
Anyways, that jingle's been stuck in my head since I started playing this game.
That's funny.
But that was the developers and the publishers. This is available on PC, Mac, PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, iOS, and Android. It was released July 25th, 2024. And you can get this for $19.99 when it is not on sale.
Furniture and mattress.
Yeah, isn't it catchy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
About the developers, I'm just going to name off everyone that was credited on this game. We've got Nick Sutner, the creative director, writing, production, and business, and story. They've worked on games like Carto, Celeste, and Guacamelee 2.
Ooh, I heard that one's good.
I know. David Hellman, creative director, art director, and story. They've worked on the game Braid and graphic novel Second Quest. Nicholas Reckabaron, creative director, game design, programming, and story. They worked on Ethereal. And Tomas Batista, music and sound design. And they've worked on Per Aspera, Fidel Dungeon Rescue, and Ethereal as well. So that's just a little bit about the team. And
That's like a solid team. Like I
Yeah.
haven't heard of all those games, but the ones I have good esteem, at least in my brain.
yeah. Well, and I don't know if you noticed, David Hellman worked on a graphic novel, and it really shows in this game.
Yes.
Because we'll talk about it later, but this is the graphics are very graphic novel at one point.
Yeah.
So the accessibility report actually has already been created on the Family Gaming database. So instead of boring you by reading out the entire thing and possibly getting things wrong, because I don't really know what I'm talking about when it comes to accessibility, this one's been done by the professionals, and I will link that in the show notes. It checks 37 feature boxes on their list. It's very accessible.
I'm not surprised to hear that.
Yeah, it's a very accessible game. So I would just go take a look if that's something that you need to consider. Just click that link in the show notes just to take a quick look. And they've got it all laid out. It's beautiful. So before we rate this game, do you guys want to describe the gameplay a little bit?
Yes, I actually practiced a little bit because I feel like this is a challenging one to explain in a podcast medium, I feel.
Yeah.
So this is a puzzle adventure game. And you play as a character moving through a world going on an adventure, basically. That's what an adventure game is. Crazy. But the way that you travel through the world and interact with things is very unique. So let me just take you on a mind journey through pictures in your brain.
Oh, I'm excited.
My eyes are
So
closed.
I'm ready.
imagine a 3x4 grid. Okay. This is the game space for this Mind Palace adventure. Now you have a character. Imagine it looks like yourself or a girl in a green jacket, something like that. Put her on one of the grid spaces, wherever you like. Now you can use the joystick or whatever controller function you're using to move the character up, left, right, down, orthogonally, right? And they move around. When they get to the edge of the grid, they are going to loop back to the opposite end. So if they go all the way up, they're going to be at the bottom. If they go all the way to the left, they're going to be on the right side. Are you still with me?
I'm with you.
Good. So now we're going to make it a little bit more complicated. We're going to throw some more objects on this grid. Let's throw a refrigerator somewhere on the grid. It just still takes up one space. We're going to throw a dog on the grid, and the refrigerator is going to be just above your character. If you move up, the fridge is going to move with you. If you move down, the fridge is going to move down with you. If the fridge is 2 spaces above you, it's going to do the same thing, because when you're moving your character, you're actually moving that whole row or column on the axis that you're moving. So what you're doing is you are arranging the items in a specific way based on what the adventure asks for. So you might move to the right and move the dog with you to the right, and then move up, and the dog will stay put because it's not in that column. It's in the row you were in, but it's not in the column. If you move up and down, you're affecting the column. If you move left and right, you're affecting the row. And everything in that row and everything in that column moves with you. So a really basic puzzle might be, you can imagine, we're going to talk about so many puzzles, but just to give you an idea, a really basic puzzle might be to get 2 objects next to each other on the grid by moving the row that they're on, and then maybe you're moving to get on the same column as them and moving them up or down, and getting them from place to place. There's all sorts of things on this grid. Some things move, some things don't move, some things have special rules, and now the whole world is not just a 3x4 grid. Maybe it's a 3x4 grid with a hallway that goes off it to another sized grid. Maybe it's a funky shape that's still made out of squares. And so these elements together create a whole world that is a big puzzle with all sorts of fantastic adventures and people to talk to and interact with. It's a very unique concept. Mm-hmm. And I hope that you kind of get the idea of how you play this game, or at least how that puzzle kind of grid works based on this description. And the looping back once you hit the edge is very important as well. If you are completely lost, pause the podcast, look up a quick video just to get a visualization. I think you'll only need about 5 seconds to understand if you didn't get it from my voice.
Now what we've all been waiting for, we're just going to sneak into the game rating.
Sneak in there.
Sneak in. I don't know why we're sneaking.
We're probably teleporting there from behind or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, let's get started on our spoiler-free game rating. We take into account general considerations such as length, challenge rating, and replayability. We also consider story and narrative topics, including plot, characters, world building, and content variety. Presentation topics including graphics, sound design and music, and mechanics. And lastly, we consider the overall value of the game. So let's start in general considerations. How long did it take you guys to play this game?
6.5 hours.
Whoa.
The length for mine, I will say I definitely left this game while I was talking to somebody a number of times. Mm-hmm. I have multiple children, and so there's definitely times where I had to just sit and like walk away. So my official time was 10 hours and 16 minutes, but that is flawed a little bit. So probably closer to 8-ish hours, I would say. So
yep, I was also about the 6.5 hour mark. This game also counted your steps. Do you guys want to go into step counts?
I did take a picture of my step count.
Yeah, so steps being like how many moves you take on the grid.
Yes.
Yeah. It's nice this game has like a built-in step counter that you can have displaying the whole time, or just look at it when you want.
The official step count I had was 28,162 steps.
Oh my gosh.
So I did not look at my step counter at the end of the game. I had to reload my save just before the end of the game to see my step counter, but it was at 29,776.
Oh my God, I took so many steps.
Really?
I was closer to 40,000.
Wow.
I don't have the exact number, but I didn't utilize the bumping myself very much. I would just I would kind of like just move forward through the space rather than moving backwards, where you can like, this is not going to make any sense to anyone right now, but you can make 10 steps turn into just one.
Yeah,
I did that because I thought I would have the most steps, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna try to cheat and get as few steps
you
as I
had the
could.
least amount of steps.
Yeah,
I did that looping backwards like as much as possible, just because I thought it was fun, especially when there's like some like, I don't know, like hallway type grids where you can just be like boom, 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 and like basically teleport through it.
Yeah,
That was pretty fun.
yeah, but that might not make a ton of sense until you play the game, but hopefully that inspires you to maybe check it out. And there is a demo, so you don't have to...
And actually my game time I had written down for the end too was 5 hours 38 minutes.
Oh,
nice.
Nice. All right. Moving on to challenge rating. Our skill starts at beginner, and then next is easy and moderate, difficult, and then it tops out at expert. So I struggled a little bit placing exactly where the challenge rating for this game was.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys did too.
Somewhat.
Yeah, this type of game took me a little bit to get into. So at least for me, I would put it at a moderate or maybe a little bit higher.
Okay.
Because for me, it took a while to get into. Once you started playing it more, then you kind of got an idea of how these puzzles work and what to do.
Yeah.
But for the first like 2 hours, I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm really trying to figure it out. So maybe my brain's just not wired the same way for these types of games, but it took me a little bit to get into. So I would say on a moderate level.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call out. Like, I think some people will be like predisposed to having a really easy time with this if their brain just works that way. Like, it's very like geometric, like, I don't know, patterns, like, I don't know, Rubik's Cube people. Maybe they love this game. Probably. I thought I gave this game an easy but leaning towards moderate. I thought like it did take just a little bit, not 2 hours for me, but a little bit to kind of get comfortable with it. But I didn't think that like this wasn't a puzzle game that like kept ramping up the difficulty. It more changed it up by introducing new types of puzzles rather than like making it harder and harder. So
yeah, I also sat at easy. Again, this is kind of how my brain works. I think we've done a fair amount of games that have combat where I've rated it at a higher level than you guys, because I think you guys play a lot more combat games than I do, but I'm more of a puzzle game person. So I had never heard of this game, but when I started playing it, I was like, oh my God, this is right up my alley. This is how my brain works. It took me a little bit to get into it, but I think I had to play for like maybe 10 minutes. And then I was just like, boom, 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 even though I was kind of taking the longer routes to get places.
Yeah. Do you like Rubik's Cubes?
I do like Rubik's Cubes,
Nice.
but I'm not.
There we go.
In high school, I knew the like whatever like
The
pattern
formula,
that you were supposed to do. I wouldn't be able to do it now, but so I gave it an easy, but I think I can see why it would be a moderate.
Yeah, for sure. It's
Definitely.
not like a normal way of thinking, I don't think. Well, what's normal,
No.
but
Moving to target audience, the ESRB rating for this game is E for everyone, and it does note fantasy violence and language, but I thought that this would be suitable for anyone who enjoys puzzles, but I also thought that this would be a super fun family game. I don't know if you guys felt this way, or Sean, you have kids. I don't know if they would enjoy this, but this seemed very much like a game that my whole family would sit down in front of the TV and play together, maybe with an adult holding the controller, figuring out the more difficult puzzles. But there are a lot of good kind of, I don't know, lessons that you learn throughout this game that I just thought would be very family friendly, and kind of, they were just very wholesome, and that's how I saw it as I was playing. I just couldn't help but think, oh, like when I was younger, I could see myself playing this with my family.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And for anyone who's like big into puzzle games, like this is right up your alley. Like this is an awesome game. Yeah, I could totally see myself like with my kids and like playing this game and like, how do we do this? What are we going to do here? And trying to get through these puzzles and progress. And even though it's a strong language, like I didn't really see that. Maybe
I think it just says language, so I don't know if
Okay,
there's just
well,
like one
English.
like I don't know if there's like a poop head in there or something. I can't remember, but there's no profanity.
No,
I don't think there's any profanity.
No,
in it.
and like Emma was saying, there's really some great learning lessons that you can learn from the stories and what happens throughout the game. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think also just like if you like puzzle games, but you're not like crazy hardcore, like you're not trying to like prove anything, like this is a good game because it's just a fun experience that's puzzling.
Yeah.
But it doesn't like ramp up and get crazy.
The last part of our general consideration section, replayability. Did you guys think that this was a replayable game?
I could see it being replayable to try to see if you get faster with the puzzles and you could like lower your step count. Like how low could I get? How fast could I do it? For me personally, I don't think I'm going to touch it again. At least for a long time. Or at least for a while, but I could see other people like wanting to like speed run it, and how fast could you go and that kind of thing. So
that's interesting because you had you feel like you had the most trouble with the difficulty, but you had the fewest steps. So actually you're just a boss.
Maybe apparently no. Well, anytime there was like a hallway where it kind of just did a zigzag or something like that, I would just immediately do and just instead of 15 steps, I did 4 steps.
Yeah.
So, because I thought honestly I was going to get the most. So
you were like try-harding it the whole time.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, I feel like actually like I'm not a very big game replayer. But I definitely like I want to play this game again. Like I had a lot of fun with it. And I feel like the difficulty of the puzzles was just like just right. And the way that they kind of are, like, even though the setup's going to be the same, it's not like I'm going to remember like, oh yeah, you just do left, up, right, and then you're done. Like it's not that sort of thing. Like it's kind of like a spatial puzzle. You kind of have to figure out every time you get to it. So I don't know. I feel like I can get the similar enjoyment through replayability or through replaying it. So I definitely would play again, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is a replayable game for the reasons that you've described. Surprisingly, even though I am a very puzzly game person, I don't think that I would play this game again.
Oh, really?
I don't know why. I mean, I got enjoyment out of it this first run, but I think the things that I enjoyed were simply from uncovering new puzzles and uncovering there were a lot of sneaky achievements and things in this game that really drove my interest. But after I finished it, I was like, yeah, I could probably just never play that again. Not in a bad way, but just I don't think I would enjoy it as much as I did this first playthrough.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's how I feel about most games, but this one I actually feel like I would go back. So
cool. Yeah. Well, that brings us to the story and narrative section, which is the first, this is the beginning of our number rated section. So we rate things between 1 and 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest, and we'll get started with plot.
Oh, okay. I would give the plot 2 to 3. Maybe closer to 3-ish. I really like the story that was built, and there's like 4 main areas that you go through in this game, and each of them are different and provide different characters, and you kind of interact with each of them along the way and provides a story that finishes very well in the end. So I would say a 3. I think it was pretty fun, and the characters are funny. It's very humorous interactions, and the things that you're dealing with are pretty comical at times. So I had a lot of fun with it. So yeah, I'd say a 3.
I gave it a 2. I was close to giving it a 3, but the more that I looked at it, I loved that the lessons that were taught by the plot of this game and the progression of the characters.
Yeah.
But I don't think that the plot was really there at all. There was a plot, but there were so many questions left answered, and it seemed a little bit thrown together. Not in a bad way. I don't think there was a lot of depth to the plot. The way it ended too, I mean, your character has a lot of backstory that's not uncovered, and I think that it left a lot desired plot-wise.
So we need the prequel.
The prequel or the sequel. I mean, I would take either, because I think that there were a lot of things, and maybe they do have plans for this, and that's why it was left that way. But if this was just a standalone game, if we're rating it on that, I would give it a 2.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I'm also at a 3 alongside Sean. I felt like the story was like a pretty like formulaic, I guess, but it did have like some very silly twists that I enjoyed, that we'll talk about like more on the next episode. So it was kind of like I could kind of see where the game was going like from pretty early on, but there were like some interesting twists along the way. I had fun with it.
Well, moving from the plot and into our next section, we'll talk about the characters, which I kind of touched on when we were talking about the plot. I gave the characters a 3 because I thought they were all very unique. I disliked a few of them for absolutely no reason. I liked a lot of them. We'll talk about it in our next episode, but there were a couple characters that just creeped me out, and it really just that by no fault of, and it wasn't in a bad way. It was just I don't know how to describe this without making it sound bad, but I thought that the characters were utilized in a very unique way, I guess. I don't know how to describe it, but they also, their names, the names of the characters and the names of the places in this game remind me of when we're playing D&D and you guys would randomly ask me the name of an NPC and I was just like Bloobensmirts, like just trying to think of a random name. They're just so funny. The names are hilarious. And the characters, just like the way that they talk and the things that they say, there was just a lot of humor and love that was put into them that I actually didn't feel in the plot. And I think that's why the plot got a lower score for me, because I felt like so much went into the characters, even though they didn't have very much depth.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't think the characters had a ton of depths, but they did have like a lot of personality. It's just a bunch of weirdos through this whole game.
Yeah.
Like I really enjoyed that. Like for me, it was a 4 because every character I was like, what the hell? Like, who are you? Yeah. Like, kind of like in Cavern of Dreams a little bit too, where there's just like so much like randomness happening. But I just really liked that. 4.
Yeah, I think I would also go with 4 too. Just strictly like comically wise, like they always had some quirky thing they were saying or something that was going on that you're like, what is happening? But like Rylan was saying, they're all doing weird stuff. They're just a group of crazy people, and it was just a lot of fun. They always had some funny off the wall, off the cuff thing they were saying, or just random stuff they were doing, and it was just a lot of fun. So I enjoyed the characters a lot.
Yeah, they did shine in this game. I liked them a lot. What did you guys think about the world building?
I gave the world building a 2, but now that I'm thinking about it, maybe like a 3. This world felt really small to me. There's a part towards the beginning where you're like on a ledge and you can like kind of oversee a bunch of areas. And from that moment, I was like, okay, that's the whole game in front of me. Like it looks big, but I can tell that it's really not. And you kind of feel that way. Like there's like 3 little towns, or kind of 4, that are like kind of your hubs for different activities. And there's some traveling between them. There's some like almost like lore about what's going on, but it doesn't really touch on it too much. And I don't know, it kind of plays into the puzzly aspect of the game more than like the story of like maybe what it'd be like in a real life sort of thing. But I don't know. I think that there's something interesting there. So I feel like it's a 3.
I think I would go along the same lines. A 3. Yeah, because there is a section where you're looking and you're like, oh, that's pretty much it. Like, oh, there's these certain areas that you can go to, and that's pretty much it. There is some variety between those, and the different puzzles and the different characters that you meet and that kind of thing. The one thing I will say is that while you're going throughout these worlds, you have your puzzle spaces that you're going through, your grids or what have you. But on the sides, there's also like art of like what the main character's doing, like to get through that space. So you kind of get a little bit more of what's going on. But yeah, I think overall it was still fun, even though I agree it felt small for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave world building a 3. There was just so much history and culture that was fit into such a small world. Like you kind of there are 3 places that you explore. outside of kind of your main home where you grew up, and then right outside of that area. But each space has its own history and culture about it. And it doesn't go in depth a ton, but it gave that area its own personality. And I really liked it. And it also fed into the lesson that was kind of like the motif of each area. And again, we'll talk about this in depth in our next episode, but I really, I don't know that my game rating is going to reflect how much I appreciated the kind of little lessons that were depicted. But I thought that the world itself really helped push those along.
Do you feel like it's a spoiler to talk about kind of like what some of these the themes are of, maybe not all of them, but like there's a big one that stands out to me?
Yeah, I mean, I think we could talk about broadly, maybe just try and keep it really broad.
I was just thinking about like there's kind of like a theme of like fitting in is like fake, kind of, and just like be yourself and accept yourself.
Yeah. I don't think that's a spoiler.
Okay.
I think that, because
I'll bring it up later, maybe.
Yeah, broadly, that is what this whole game is kind of about. Yeah. So the last part of story and narrative, content variety. I don't know if my number rating is going to be controversial or not.
Ooh, interesting.
What do you think I gave it?
2.
Yeah, I think you gave it a 2.
No. I gave it a 4.
I gave it a 4 also.
Oh, okay.
Sean, what'd you give it?
I'd say 3.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're around the same.
You monster.
Rylan, why'd you give it a 4?
So this game, basically, you did the same thing the whole game. In the way that you move through this world, and like, you press A to talk to somebody and you move the joystick around to travel. But the amount of different stuff that they did with the basic like grid and looping mechanics was insane.
Yeah.
Like as you start to get into the game, they start to introduce new types of like ways to interact with this puzzle. And I started to think, oh, okay, so I see now they're like next they're going to combine these elements. They did not combine these elements like hardly at all. They just kept introducing new ones and then playing with those new ones for a little bit and then tossing them aside and saying, here's a new one. Toss that aside. Here's a new one. I was amazed the whole time that they had so much variety based on this like grid puzzle.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because in the different areas that you're in, the puzzles drastically change, even though it's the same concept. Like, in one section you're doing a certain thing, but another section is completely different. So yeah, maybe a 4 is good. Yeah, because there is quite a bit of variety, even just with the basic point of a grid style puzzle game.
Yeah. The fact that all we were doing was puzzles and I never got tired of it is like snaps.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Snaps to them. And I just counted because I did keep track. I went through and I ended up writing down all the puzzle styles.
No, that's fine because mine's messy.
Okay. And I'm probably missing some, but not including any of the bosses that you fight, I noted 39 different puzzle styles.
Wow.
In this game. And
pretty much all of them, it wasn't just one room, it was like one little area.
Yeah.
That had those, yeah.
Yeah. So content variety, 4 I was right there with you.
Yeah, they really milked this grid and they did it well.
Yeah. Yep. So moving into presentation, we're going to talk about graphics. I'm going to yell about graphics.
Is that a good yell or a bad yell?
I don't know. You'll have to wait and find out. What did you guys rate the graphics?
Quattro.
Wait, what's that?
4.
Okay, 4. Sorry. I'm in the French mindset. I've been learning.
Cat.
I don't know. I'm just talking about the French names I had to say recently.
Oh.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, cat.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the animal. I thought you were asking me to tell you, like, say cat in French.
I gave it a 4, Emma.
Yeah.
Thanks for my puny little brain, my uncultured mind. Why'd you give it a 4?
because the art was really nice. I felt like
Yeah.
this was like a gorgeous like watercolor, like digital watercolor painting style. A lot of like the sprites looked like they were like a cartoon, like with thick lines and stuff. But then they had like this nice watercolor over them. The background of the grid, like so, the grid was like the main space where you're playing took up like the center of the screen, but then on the sides and like maybe the top, there was like a scene that would be there as you're moving through this world. So, like Sean, you kind of touched on it earlier, but maybe there'd be like a little as you're going through this forest. Maybe there's like the character's foot like stepping on a branch off to the left, and then on the right side you see like some critters looking at you from the trees. And so it's like as you're just moving through this area, there's like all these scenes going around, these gorgeous this gorgeous artwork, and it just like it was amazing. Like the visual presentation of this, I just thought was so amazing and creative. Like for you to just travel through an area, ordinarily it'd be a little bit dry, but I was like excited to see like, oh, what are these pictures going to be like on the side? And like the art was so nice and the colors were great. I really liked the presentation of all of this.
Yeah, I would say 4 also to ditto a lot of that because it was really cool going to the different areas and seeing like what is she doing, because it's showing what you're supposed to be doing in that space with those graphics that they were showing on the background or on the sides. I also like the character detail. Like even though they were very small and very quaint, they had a lot of detail within them, which was pretty cool with all the different characters that you saw. And the different spaces, there was definitely variety in lighting and just the different colors that they provided. Even in that cartoony, watercolory sense, it was really well done. So,
Yeah, I give...
Yell.
No, I gave this a 5. I
Wow.
thought I know. But it was so smart and beautiful the way that it was done. Not only was the artistic value high, but the way it was executed, in my opinion, was perfect. I don't think that I've ever seen a game do something like this.
No.
I think I'm going to assume this was David Hellman because he's the one that had some graphic novel experience under his belt when I was reading their backgrounds on their website. So David Hellman, if this was you, I'm sure other people were involved, but it was just so well done. And I was so excited you would have a whole space where all you did was move. Like it wasn't a puzzle. You were just moving through the space, but every step you took would advance this little graphic novel style picture. And I loved it.
It told a story.
I almost like shed a tear. This was a 5 for me. If I could have given it more, I would have.
Just do it. Give it a 6. I mean, be brave.
10. No. This was my favorite part of the game. And I loved the puzzles, but it was just such a unique, memorable. I will not forget this part of the game ever.
It was a very smart way to use the space on the screen too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. So shout out to the whole team because I'm sure everyone was involved, but specifically I think David Hellman, who was the art director. That was well done. So bravo. Anyways, let's move into sound design and music.
I would give it a 3, maybe a 3.5. Like the sounds were pretty good throughout. The one that I remember is towards the end, you're in a certain space where the's a lot of beats. And so you're just beating it up. And it's maybe the same beat that they've heard for 10 years. But it was pretty good. So, I would give it a 3. I thought the sound was very well done. So
cool.
Yeah, I thought I also gave it a 3. I thought the sound was really good. There wasn't really any like bops, I would say, but like the music was really like calming at the beginning. Like there was like a lot of like acoustic guitar, and I thought like there were some random sounds that I don't have any examples, but I feel like there were some random sounds that came in during the game too, like of the animals or things around you that were just like effective little like noises. So it was nice.
Yeah. I didn't have a problem with the music. I actually really liked the music. Unfortunately, I gave sound design and music a 2. And only because when you were solving puzzles and you'd be stuck because either something wasn't going to wrap with you or you couldn't go a certain way.
Oh,
it
yeah.
made this like bonk sound. And sometimes when you were actually doing a puzzle and doing it right and like moving something, it would make a repeated noise that was like chung 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 chung, like over and over again. This didn't happen everywhere, but it happened enough that it really, really bothered me. I
can
don't
see
know
that.
why, and I can't remember exactly which puzzles it was, but the puzzles that had noises associated with every single time you moved, it got very frustrating, especially if I was trying to figure out the puzzle. Once I figured it out and got it done, I was like, great. But obviously it didn't bother you guys that much. So maybe it's just a personal thing. But for me, I think I just got overstimulated because I play my games with headphones and I usually have them up pretty loud because I like listening to the music and the sound design. So to have something making a noise over kind of the background noises and music in a repetitive way was just a bit much for me, especially when I'm trying to think.
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense.
I can see that for sure.
But no hate to whoever was responsible for the music. I just got a little overstimulated. So we're reaching the end. This is our last numbered rating, and that is mechanics. I gave the mechanics a 3. I didn't find anything super special about them. And to be honest, sometimes I would accidentally like push my stick too many times, or it would kind of like get stuck and I would move too many times. So it wasn't super smooth from my point of view, but it wasn't bad. I wouldn't say that it was anything lower than a 3. I probably could be put at a 4 as well, but there's just so little to the game. I kind of expected, since it was just movement, that it would be a little bit more smooth. But that was just my own experience.
Yeah.
And sorry to interrupt. I was also playing on my Steam Deck with like sticks, and those tend to get a little sticky sometimes. No pun intended, legitimately.
I wasn't going to say nothing.
Yeah.
But I guess if you played with mouse and keyboard, it might be a little bit more smooth of like clicking a button to move. I'm not sure. Did either of you play without a controller with the mouse and keyboard?
No, I didn't. I played with sticks too.
No, I played with the controller as well.
Oh, okay.
But now that I think about it, I'm like, I should have played this with the mouse and keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
I probably could have like played with one hand and been super casual about it.
Yeah, I think this actually would have played really well on mouse and keyboard, which I don't love, but I think that in this scenario it would have been better.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like my experience was that this is what I wrote down. Mechanics 5 ?
What the hell?
So I felt like this was super smooth, and I appreciated like how little different buttons you needed. Like this game was just so easy and smooth to play for me, but like none of that was like boring or like not enough. It all worked great. I thought it was really nice and smooth from my perspective.
I think, for me, just the amount I accidentally looped.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell is going on? So it probably was user error, if I'm being honest. But
yeah, maybe. Like I had no complaints about it. I thought it was great.
That's great.
I would say, like 4. I mean, I didn't have too much of an issue. I definitely sometimes would like accidentally go into a room and then press down instead of up, or up instead of down, and then go back out and then have to go back in.
Oh, yeah.
Or when I was trying to be super slick and try to like do 4 moves instead of 10, I would like hit the sidewall. So I couldn't move. It was like one box that I would just go right in, and then I'd just end up in the same spot. So I definitely did that a few times, but I feel like that was a little bit of user error, me just trying to go quick or, not paying attention. But overall, I mean, there's not a whole lot like combat and that it's all the same thing. So, but overall, I think it was pretty smooth for me. So
yeah, I probably should move it up to a 4 just because I think it was mostly user error and possibly the condition of my joysticks. I tend to, I don't know if you can replace them on the Steam Deck, but I know I've had to replace them multiple times on my Switch. Granted, Nintendo's not known for their
Yeah.
but yeah, so the last thing we have to talk about is value. Do you guys think that this game is worth $19.99?
Yes.
Yes. I think if you caught it on a sale, though, that'd be good too. But yes, I think that's just because how my brain works.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
No.
Oh.
I don't think it's worth $19.99. I'm sorry.
That's fair.
I didn't dislike it, but looking back, I don't think I would ever pay $20 for what I got out of this game. It was just too short. Yeah. I think if I'm playing a game this short, it has to really have a lot more content, even though we gave content a high score. I just mean more variety of content. I don't know.
Maybe if it was a larger game, like there's more stuff, or maybe another map or two.
Maybe if it was longer, because it is just puzzle solving the entire time. I think if there was more variety in the, puzzle solving, story building, combat, I think it needed more of that to be a $20 game. This seemed more like a $15 game to me.
Sure.
Yeah.
But honestly, I didn't think it was bad. I gave it a 3 for my final rating.
Final? Okay.
Yeah. What was your guys' final rating?
I think mine would be like a 3.8-ish.
Whoa!
Oh, yeah, pretty good.
I gave a lot of 4s, so
wow.
Yeah.
Mine might be like a 4.2 or 4.4, somewhere around there.
Wow.
I think like I'm glad to hear that like we didn't all appreciate it at the same level, but like I think this game is really special, and I'm like, how is this not like a big game that everybody is trying to talk about right now?
I will say I was very surprised to see the lack of traffic this game has gotten, because even though I'm giving it a 3, I don't think it was a bad game. I think because I am a puzzle game person, I require more complex puzzles for it to be a higher rated puzzle game for me.
That's fair.
Which is why it hit at a 3. But again, I said this earlier, this rating doesn't reflect the emotions that this game evoked in me while I was playing it, even though I'm 30 years old and the lessons that you learn in this game are lessons that I learned a long time ago. I still thought it was really well done, and it made me just imagine playing it as a little kid and thinking that it would just be such a fun thing to experience, like with your kids or your nieces and nephews or something.
Yeah, I think like this game like hit at that, like the difficulty was so perfect for me. I think at the time I was playing this, like I was not banging my head against the wall. Like maybe I have to be like, what do I do? Like, or how do I do it? But like, just, I could move through the game at a decent pace. And it was just like very satisfying to like, okay, I solved a puzzle. Next puzzle. Okay, I solved a puzzle. Like, I think like there's something in my brain that is just like, I like those satisfying like little victories regularly. Like I said before, like I will replay this game again and I'll feel great. Like this game's awesome.
Yeah, I did enjoy this game, even though I feel like there was definitely some moments where I was like banging my head a little bit. Just it took me a while to get into it, but then once you do, yeah, I get that same like dopamine hit of like, oh, I solved that one. Oh, I solved that one. Like I'm on a roll. So it was a lot of fun. There's definitely a few that were challenging for me, but overall with the story and everything, it was still a fun game. So
awesome. Well, this concludes the spoiler-free rating episode for Ranger. Please join us next week for the spoiler-filled discussion episode as we dive into the details of this game and all its hidden gems. If you haven't played the game yet and this sounds like something you might be interested in, I hope you find some time to play it before tuning in next week. Please go and give the podcast a follow and a 5-star review if you liked what you heard. It is so exciting to see that we're getting more followers.
I'm pumped.
I'm just even one new follower. I'm just like, it just makes me feel like it's just a little community that is as interested in these little indie games as we are. And so,
yeah, and like people need to listen to this because it sounds really lame, but like through the process of making this show, like looking into these games that I never would have found otherwise, and like a Ranger, like Evil Tonight, and like so many other games, Cavern of Dreams, like so many of these games that we've played that I would not have found or played, but like now they just like have a special place in my heart, and like just excited to talk to people about them. Like, oh, you played the new AAA release? Like, you need to check this game out. Like, this is where it's at right here.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just really fun. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. And we're just excited that you're coming along this journey with us. So I just wanted to say something real quick. You can email us with comments, questions, or constructive criticism at letmebeyourgg@gmail.com. You can also send us game requests if there's something you would like us to review. Thanks again, River, for reaching out. It's just so fun. We have an Instagram, and we're on there as Let Me Be Your GG, and we've plugged our Patreon, I believe, but that can be found at patreon.com/letmebeyourgg. We also have a TikTok that I'm not using right now.
It's being used.
Yeah. Apparently, there's a lot of people viewing one.
There is one video on our TikTok, the Samurai Refined Self video, that randomly blew up. Like, this is months after it's been posted. I guess I don't understand how TikTok works. Maybe this is normal, but
please somebody write us and tell us how this works.
Yeah.
So, eventually I think that we'll get back on our TikTok. I'm building a PC right now, and we'll probably start streaming my games every now and again. So might put some of that on TikTok. Sean and Rylan, if you stream your gameplays, we can put that on the TikTok. We'll probably start playing games together and streaming them. So the TikTok will come back. It's on vacation right now. Yeah. But that was just a funny little thing that happened this week.
The people are clamoring for more TikTok.
Yeah, apparently.
Well, thank you so much for listening. We can't wait to see you next week. And thank you so much for letting me be your game guide. GG, y'all.
GG.
Bye. Sneak it in, loop it back. I don't know.
Loop it in and sneak it back. Yep.
Yeah, that's all we got so far.